let's travel back in time. The year is 1948. Picture this. You're in the Strait of Malacca, one of the busiest shipping lanes on the entire planet, right there between Malaysia and Indonesia. The seas are calm, the sky is clear, everything is just, well, normal. But on this particular day, these peaceful waters are about to become the backdrop for one of the most terrifying and unsolved mysteries in maritime history. And then, out of nowhere, this message just cuts through the static on the radio waves. It's broken, it's fragmented, and it's absolutely horrifying. Multiple ships in the area, both American and British, pick it up. The sender identifies themselves as the SS Orang Medan, a Dutch freighter. And after that final chilling phrase, "I die," there's just silence. Now, here's why nobody just wrote this off as some kind of sick prank. The message came in via Morse code. See, unlike a voice on the radio that can get all crackly and distorted, Morse code is incredibly reliable. It cuts through atmospheric noise and distance like a knife. So when a message like this comes through, you take it seriously. Every single person who heard it knew without a doubt that the SS Orang Medan was in some very, very deep trouble. When you look at the full transmission, it gets even more disturbing. It started out pretty standard, an SOS call, followed by a request for any nearby ship with a doctor to get in touch right away. But before anyone could even respond with medical advice, the message just completely devolved into that nightmare report of the entire crew being dead and ending with the operator's own final words. So the captain of the Silver Star hears this call, and he doesn't hesitate for a second. He immediately orders his ship to change course, pushing the engines to full speed, heading straight for the last known coordinates of the Orang Medan. Their mission was simple: get there and help. For hours, the crew of the Silver Star sailed on, and you can just imagine the tension building. What were they going to find? A ship on fire? Survivors of some horrible pirate attack? But as the Orang Medan finally appeared on the horizon, the reality was so much stranger, and honestly, so much more unsettling. What they found just made no sense at all. The ship was perfectly fine. It wasn't sinking, there was no smoke, no signs of a fight, nothing. It was just floating there, dead in the water. The crew of the Silver Star tried everything. They hailed the ship, they blasted their horn, but the only thing that answered back was the sound of the ocean. The Orang Medan was a ghost ship. Okay, so you're the captain of the Silver Star. What do? You can't just leave. He made a really brave call. He had to know what happened on that ship. So he put together a boarding party to cross over to the silent vessel and finally figure out what was going on. The second the rescue team set foot on the deck of the Orang Medan, they knew something was deeply wrong. I mean, it's the tropics, right? The sun is beating down. But the air on that ship was freezing. An unnatural, bone-chilling cold just hung over the whole vessel. And the silence, it wasn't just quiet, it was heavy. And then they saw them. Bodies were everywhere, scattered on the deck, on the bridge, in the chart room. The captain was found dead at his post. Every officer, every crewman, the entire ship's crew was gone. It was a scene from an absolute nightmare. But it wasn't just that they were dead. It was the way they looked. Every single person, right down to the ship's little dog, was frozen in this identical pose of pure abject terror. Their eyes were wide open, staring at, well, nothing. Their mouths were locked open in a silent scream, and their arms were stretched out in front of them like they were trying to fight off some final invisible attacker. And here's the kicker: there were no wounds, no blood, no signs of any kind of struggle. Nothing to explain what killed them. They found the radio operator slumped over his equipment, his fingers still resting on the Morse code key, frozen in the very act of sending that final desperate message. Something had killed them all in an instant and scared them to death in the process. The boarding party was, understandably, shaken to their core, but they had a job to do. You can't just leave a ghost ship floating in a major shipping lane. The captain of the Silver Star decided to tow the Orang Medan to a nearby port for a full investigation. This puzzle had to be solved. But the ship wasn't finished yet. As the crew was getting ready to attach the tow lines, someone spotted a little wisp of smoke curling up from deep inside the ship's hull. It seemed to be coming from one specific place, cargo hold number 4. What in the world was in there? No one would ever find out. That little wisp of smoke suddenly erupted into a raging fire. The rescue team had no choice. They had to get off that ship, and fast. They scrambled back to their boats, literally fleeing for their lives. And just moments after they got clear, a massive explosion tore the Orang Medan in two. And within minutes, the ship and its entire crew of silent witnesses sank beneath the waves and vanished forever.
So, with the ship gone, what was left? Nothing. No wreckage, no bodies, no physical evidence of any kind. All that remained was the completely bizarre testimony of the Silver Star's crew. And in that total vacuum of proof, theories began to swirl, ranging from the perfectly logical to the downright sinister.
Okay, so the first and most obvious question you have to ask is, was this whole thing just a story, a hoax? Skeptics love to point out that there was no official registration for an SS Orang Medan in big shipping logs like Lloyd's of London. But you gotta remember, this was right after World War II. The world was a mess. It wasn't at all unusual for ships, especially ones involved in smuggling, to sail under fake names or just not be registered at all. This leads us to the most popular scientific theory, a hazardous cargo leak. The idea here is that the Orang Medan was smuggling a nasty cocktail of unstable chemicals left over from the war. A leak of something like potassium cyanide mixing with seawater would create a deadly gas, causing rapid, terrifying suffocation, which would explain the looks on their faces. And if they were also carrying something highly unstable like nitroglycerin, well, that would perfectly explain the sudden fire and the massive explosion that blew the ship to pieces. But then there's a much darker theory. What if the ship was on a top-secret mission? What if it was transporting biological weapons developed by Japan's infamous Unit 731? That was a covert unit known for its absolutely horrific experiments on human beings. This theory would explain the secrecy, and a leak of some kind of nerve agent could definitely cause those bizarre instant deaths. And this idea really took off when the CIA declassified a letter from 1958 that specifically mentioned the Orang Medan, suggesting its fate was connected to other mysterious events at sea. So what really happened to the crew of the SS Orang Medan? With the ship and all its clues lying at the bottom of the Strait of Malacca, all we have left is the haunting story told by its rescuers. Was it a tragic accident with a deadly chemical leak, a covert military operation gone horribly wrong, or maybe something else entirely that the ocean is keeping secret? The silent, terrified faces of the crew are the only ones who know for sure, and their secrets sank right along with them.